Arts organizations in Massachusetts hope to reverse a budget cut recently approved at the State House. The House of Representatives recently passed a budget that reduced funding for the Mass Cultural Council by 28%. One of the advocates trying to change that figure is our guest, the Executive Director of MassCreative, Matt Wilson. Thank you very much for being with us, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Take us beyond those categories like Cultural Council or money for the arts. What is this money used for?
Right. Well, every year the state invests money into the arts, cultural, and creative community. Actually, over the course of the year, the state invests in more than 5,000 different institutions, from the big ones, the BSO, the MFA, down to community-based organizations like the Hyde Square Task Force or Artists for Humanity, who are really working on the ground. And public funding provides needed investment for these organizations so that they can run programs and really service their constituency and provide some really good arts and culture for Boston citizens and beyond.
Well, you mentioned Artists for Humanities. They just announced an expansion yesterday, and a lot of that is about job opportunities involving the arts, but also an overlap with the STEM fields, the innovation economy. So this isn't just purely culture off by itself.
Exactly, and that's what we're seeing as arts and culture is ingrained in many things in our community, from whether it's in education, community development, healthcare. And Artists for Humanity is an excellent example of some real workforce training that they do. They hire over 150 students each semester, giving them skills on on creative skills and how to be artists, how to use technology, which then are great skills for them to go off in their future careers.
Well, in Hyde Square, there's a plan right now to have a Latin Quarter, and the vision is to include some cultural events. But this is also important for the bodega owners too.
Exactly. It's culture helps create an identity for neighborhoods. It helps create vibrancy in a place of space. And Hyde Square is a great example of investing in arts and culture, creates a real vibrant neighborhood that brings in business, brings in folks from other neighborhoods, and helps bring a real joy to that community.
What about the education that goes on that's supported by this money?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the key things that we work on, is how do we make sure that arts education is a real key part of our students' education. We hear a lot about social and emotional learning, and people realize that a lot of our students have been tested and are being over-tested, and there's some real key skills key skills and things that they need to learn which are outside of testing. Arts education is one of those key things. Provides students a sense of how to work as a team, how to be creative, how to think innovatively, how to fail, how to make mistakes. And a lot of times arts education, that's been lost in our curriculum, and we're really working to get that as an integral part of our students' education.
And even just as a way to engage students in school.
Exactly.
If the other things don't work, well, you need the arts.
Right, and it's fun and it's enjoyable, and for many students it's the place they go, and that's why they go back. That's why they go to school, so that they can take the arts class, they can play their instrument, and they can be a part of a group of folks, a group of students that are really bringing joy to the day.
I want to go to some of the bigger pictures, because I'm sure we've heard about a number of things that need urgent funding at the State House, the opioid crisis. So you got a challenge there to get this figure back up.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and we've been successful over the past 4 years. The legislature has actually come through. By the end of the process, they've increased funding for the arts by 50% over the past 4 years, because they realize it's just not arts for art's sake, but it's arts that are having an impact on our neighborhoods and our community. It's building vibrancy in our neighborhoods. It's educating our kids. It's helping folks who are dealing with opioid issues. It's helping to move folks from treatment to recovery by giving them tangible skills and to help them really find a voice for themselves. So I think an important thing to think about with arts funding, it's really integrated into the broader life of Massachusetts, and it really goes to address a number the socioeconomic issues that we face as a community.
If you look at another big picture here, if you compare how much we spend in this in Massachusetts, with public money at least, compared to other places, how does it look?
Well, as a state, we're in the top 10. Which is okay, but here in Massachusetts, we tend to like to be at the top of the level. As a state, we're okay. In Boston, we're actually pretty low. In a recent study by the Boston Foundation, has shown that the city of Boston is near at the bottom of the barrel as far as the investment in the arts community. We hope there's currently a planning process, the Boston Creates process, which is coming out with their plan in June. And we really hope there's a real increase in city funding in the arts for the wide array of groups here in Boston.
What about the role of the arts as far as making us one of these destination urban centers that the innovative, creative people, they matter too.
Right.
If we want to get them in here, does this money have much to do with that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept because there's the whole concept of the creative economy and innovation, and I think there's a real interface with the arts economy. There's a lot of crossover from creative folks who are musicians and artists who evolve into the for-profit field, which is a real dynamic experience. The other thing is a lot of companies move here because it's an exciting place. I think when you look at General Electric, they're moving here to Boston. They're moving into Fort Point, the artist neighborhood in Boston. It's not only because there's other innovative companies there, but there's excitement and there's things for their staff and their folks to do. So the arts not only bring help to their business, but it provides the type of place where their employees want to live.
I want to come back to the budget process here because we mentioned the cut that was proposed by the House of Representatives.
Yep.
The Senate also has to weigh in, eventually the governor,
right.
and also I guess there's an amendment in the House too that changed things.
Yes, so actually either today or tomorrow the House will vote on an amendment to reverse the cuts that were proposed and to actually increase the budget by 20%. After the House passes its budget, the Senate then comes back with its budget in the middle of May. And then if the numbers are different, then they have to conference to come up with a final number, which then goes to the governor for him to sign it. So we're still just at the beginning of the budget cycle.
And I guess that amendment was for an increase even above what it was last year.
Yes, so we're trying to get ourselves back to where we were back in the 1990s. The early 90s, the state was investing $27 million a year in the arts community, really providing the type of capital so a lot of institutions could flourish. Currently, we're at half of that. We're at $14 million, and we're trying to work ourselves up over the next few years to get back to that level where we were back in the 90s.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks, Chris.
Matt Wilson from MassCreative. Up ahead, Vida Hispana with Maga Troncoso.